All right, everyone, let's now get straight into our conversation for tonight. And we're focused on this issue tonight because Nigeria is currently facing an energy crisis that impacts nearly every aspect of life. Despite being one of the largest economies in sub-Saharan Africa, millions of Nigerians still live without reliable power. Like crude oil, Nigeria has abundant renewable energy potential from natural sources that are replenished at a higher rate than they are consumed. Experts say, given the challenges in the nation's power industry, renewable energy has the potential to help in solving the nation's power deficiency. On the average, there is abundant renewable energy which can be harvested to bridge the gap in our energy demand and supply. These include solar, hydro, wind, biomass, and geothermal. In view of the degree of power crisis in Nigeria, the federal government has taken steps to increase the share of renewable energy in the country's energy mix, while also promoting the use of renewable energy, targeting a 30% power generation from renewable sources by 2030. Joining us tonight is a renewable energy expert and Vice Chancellor, Kebbi State University of Science and Technology, Professor Bagudu Gwadangaji. Good evening, Prof. Welcome to Politics Tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thank you.
You know, recently the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, had suggested that over 150 million Nigerians have access to reliable power in the country, a figure the Nigerian Labour Congress finds quite outrageous and untrue. I mean, NLC's point is that that number could not have been correct in a country that struggles to generate a mega and inconsistent 5,000 megawatts, far below the global benchmark of 1,000 megawatt per 1 million people. But truly the biggest question has been, why have we failed to generate at least a consistent 5,000 megawatts of electricity? Prof.
Yes, there are a lot of factors. Infrastructural factors, critical factors in terms of skilled personnel, as well as consistent generations and distribution of power. We have been stagnant for a long time within the range of 4 megawatt to 6 megawatt. Sometimes there are a lot of issues related to technical problems from the generation, sometimes from distributions, and sometimes even to the end users. So this vicious cycle of problem with conventional power supply really requires the use of energy mix. The energy mix that comprises both conventional and non-conventional. In that, the non-conventional, which is known as the renewable energy source for the country, it is reliable, it is accessible, and it is sustainable. For example, in the northern part of the country, the availability of sunlight is for the next coming 4 billion years to come, provided there is light, we continue to have sustainable energy supply in terms of solar. As you have the conventional generator, you have the alternative energy generator, which is solar PV. This one you are using foil, conventional fossil fuel, but this one you are using sunlight energy to power the conventional and non-conventional. The advantage you have, the foil you are getting is from God, which is free of charge. It's passive, no moving parts. Maintenance cost is almost zero, except after some time you need to make some replacement of some accessory like a battery, charge controller, and also related installation. But here, consistently you are subjected to technical issues meaning replacement of spare parts. Sometimes even replacement of the mode and the technologies related to generation. So these inconsistent issues of technologies that require to be looked into and strategically placed for the power generation and supply to this country need to be focused on based on capacity, as I said, in terms of infrastructure and the critical mass of personnel required to run and to maintain the power generation and distribution in the country.
All right, Prof.
Equally,
Okay. And
I said,
surprisingly or not, kindly hold on,
yes.
Prof. Surprisingly or not, the grid achieved about 5,100 megawatt generation in July 2024, almost a year. And experts say that is the highest in the last 3 years. But they also say the momentum has not been sustained, with the generation hovering around 4,500 to 4,000. The second part of my first question is about power generation. What level of improvements has it witnessed recently?
Is the power generation, as I said, is continuously getting a setback because of infrastructure development, because of investment, and even the technologies. And if you look at, based on the conventional power supplies we have in the area of hydro and gas-powered turbines and related issues, you find they continuously have problems of even maintenance. Not only even maintenance, even building new generators, new power plants, both hydro and gas-based powered conventional generating stations. So it is really not is the time for us to look at other alternative options as far as we are concerned. As I said, we have been moving a vicious cycle. Every government, as far as the power supply is concerned, you find that will promise 10 megawatts before end of its tenure and so on and so forth. But as I said, the most, according to SMART, and the most critical issues that we have to address in energy, based on projection and demand, we should have to look at the technologies, our environment, and also in terms of resource available for us and able to generate and distribute energy. And really have emphasis not on conventional energy, as I said. I have emphasis on alternative options for us in terms of energy sector. Most specifically, globalization has taken over in terms of renewable options. Renewable energy options in Nigeria is one of the promising area of solar energy in the world. The intensity of solar energy, for example, in Kebbi State, is enough to supply all Nigerian energy, not only on domestic basis, but on industrial basis. It will alter our quality of life and our status because energy is a life well. The indices or the basis for which you can determine the development of any country is spent on energy, quantum energy utilizations in terms of generation and utilizations. And as far as Nigeria is concerned, with a generation over 250 million people running under 5 to 6 megawatt maximum, which means that the development and the commercial, industrialization and quality of lives will remain questionable.
Right.
It's no longer, as I said, and I will continue to say, the alternative energy options is reliable, is sustainable, the technology is appropriate, the facility in terms of creation, collaboration, and commercialization is easy, the partnership in terms of investment is reasonable. You can also stand alone generations in terms of, you don't have to, you can isolate environment, you can have standalone generation, mega grids, and so on and so forth. You can have a community-based generations and so on and so forth. Economically effective.
So Prof, before we dig deeper, and I think I'm more confused than I've ever been, also because, some experts would have blamed power sector planning as one of the major challenges facing Nigeria. And I wonder what the correlation is and why is this difficult to do for the country?
Yes, as I said, energy has a great correlation to economy and life status of any society. You can't develop when you don't have power because everything revolves around power. Whether you want to your quality of life in your home, industries cannot run without power. Everything is dependent on power. Your industry in terms of not only commercializations and investment, even your military and your security is also dependent on power, because all the gadgets you require to monitor and evaluate your security depends also on power. So power is a holistic parameter that always country looks at as a basis of development. Based on power, you can now have the secret of technology to dribble and to devise so many options that you can push forward in the area of new technologies, in the area of smart technologies, in the area of new industrializations, in the area of even the fourth industrial options. Without power, you cannot move from the first industrialization even to the level we are. So we are stagnant because if everything relies on power, because you as a human being, if you don't eat, you will not have the energy and power to deliver anything. You become stagnated. And it's not the problem of our resources. We have the resources, but there is link between resources and also the capability in terms of skill, in terms of technology, in terms of critical mass of infrastructure to convert the resources into usable power for utilization. And that's why the gap is not that we don't have the resources. We have more than enough resources to generate all, in even any megawatts we want in any part of this country. But we do not identify strategically our plan. Where do we have these resources? Where do we want to employ these resources and power? At what time? At what cost? These are all the questions that we should ask ourselves. As I said, continue to move in this vicious cycle as far as required power is concerned, because we don't have the secret of technology of combating our own natural resources based on appropriate technology that will serve our purpose, made based on a central and decentralized power system that requires for now. For example, let me get
all right. So Prof, let's be very specific. What options are available for us in the area of wind, coal, and solar?
Yes, coal is almost like in China. You find many parts of countries, developing countries are using coal. But coal is almost have a lot of consequences. It's not clean, not only clean to handle. It has a lot of carbon-based emissions. It has linked with the global warming. And by extension, you have climate change, which you cannot control the parameters of global operations. And thereby, even the whole world now is on confusion in terms of, you can see, you cannot dictate what will happen in terms of flood. You cannot dictate what happens in terms of soil emissions because of the consequences of emissions. But renewable energy are clean, sustainable, free from all these emissions. Not completely, but partially, because there is no perfect system. Even the renewable energy we are talking is a constant. It's completely not renewable because it's not 100% ideal, but it can be regenerated within shortest possible time. That's why it is called renewable. And this renewable energy, as I said, for the next billion years to come, like in the northern part of the country, we can supply the whole country with the power required, not even for industrialized, even beyond. Even in terms of our military operations, in terms of our related operations, in the critical areas where we require energy, and comfortably we can move the country. The question we will have to open up. We can't continue to move in conservative way.
So, Prof, again, specifics. When you say we have to open up, what exactly do you mean?
We have many options, reliable options, sustainable options, clear options, cost-effective options, and the technologies are appropriate and simple for Nigerians to handle in terms of even infrastructure and the critical mass of human beings to use. You can see thermodynamically speaking, with thermodynamicians, we know that when it is you have to really use gas-based or coal-based power generation, is associated with so many moving parts, so many issues that are required. But when you are talking about renewable energy plant, you just have to install it. You don't need anybody around. It's passive, no noise, no emission, no anything. And as you have to use gas or fuel in the other side. Here you are using sunlight, which is free of charge, to power the same alternative system. And as I tell you, it's continue to look at who can decentralize power. I remember when I was the director of Energy Center, I developed a complete solar model village. A model village rising from 500 up to 5,000 people. Such project we developed now is already replicated in different parts of the world. Complete run by alternative energy option. If you can now reduce the burden on national grid in terms of domestic energy consumption, in terms of community energy consumption, in terms of small-scale energy consumption, then we can use our energy conventionally generated and distributed for serious issues, as I say, like in the military of productions, like in the industrializations for commercial products and so on and so forth. And for critical issues that we should do, all what we need is energy, and we have the energy. And if you look at from the trend of that, for the past 5 years, we are moving from almost zero on renewable energy. But because of no energy option, we are forced to leave generators and to go for solar power, which is a renewable energy, because it's comparatively more cost effective, it's more reliable, more sustainable, and even no pollution in terms of noise making. So these are options that Nigeria should clearly define in terms of regional basis where the potentials are there. If you look at the one of the critical important ingredient of is lithium for battery, one of for battery production of this deep cycle battery for solar utilization. This deep cycle, like in KV State, for example, a governor of KV State enter into investment with talent, mines, and also TSG technologies with 250 million naira investment in terms of exploration and also in terms of export related to the lithium. Equally, the same KV State enter into another with 3 Crown with over 200 million naira investment for export of lithium. But the investment the KV now is going on the rate of lithium, which is one of the most ingredient, and the cost effective of solar energy generation and distribution will be the leading stage in terms of
all right, Prof. You know, I asked about the options available for us in the area of wind, coal, and solar.
The options are many.
Yes, you've answered. You've answered. Kindly hold on, Prof.
Yeah, I asked because the option is not only one.
Yes.
The option is not only one. The options are many. Okay. We have to identify based on the environment, based on sustainability, based on climatic parameters. We have to identify our locality. We should have a general map of assessment in terms of resource available and which technology we can employ so that we can adequately take care of the power needs of Nigeria, so that the continuous questions or the continuous expectations of power generation, which keeps almost within the range of 4 to 6 megawatts for over years, with a lot of investment in terms of cost and the related investment by the government and individual. And even the industry is running on individual power distribution and supply. Do you mean the country, even by, because as I said, the power generation or the cost of power is linked with the product. Because you have to use the power to produce, to collaborate, to create, and to commercialize your product. So they are directly proportional, they are directly linked. So the issue of power, you have to have a strategic plan. Like, as I said, the renewable energy master plan for this country and even national energy master plan that is still not being implemented at the level we are now. So which means that even if it has been approved, the implementation strategy is still on ground. By now, we should have been able to know our energy mix like any other country. We should know the contribution of renewable energy. We should know the contribution of conventional energy. We should even know the contribution of emerging energies. So these are the holistic energy. And we have the way, as I tell you, if you give some of us a chance, we'll be able to centralize the energy system of this country.
All right.
We send
all right, Prof. My
My
next question would be, what exactly do you think the Rural Electrification Agency should be doing?
Well, the Rural Electricity Agency is doing a lot now in terms of alternative energy. It's more moving towards alternative energies than the conventional generator, because they believed and they agreed the conventional generators are not cost effective. And when you install such generators to any community, after 1 or 2 weeks, you had that there's problem in terms of fuel supply, in terms of spare part, in terms of breakdown, or maybe regular maintenance, or even some on-call maintenance. So the sustainability of using power with generators must now remain questionable. And it's no longer a matter of debate, it's realistic that if we continue to go on conventional generator, we will not be able to meet our target. But as I said, many parts of the country who don't have even 10% of our intensity of solar energy, they are producing megawatts from solar. They are producing from so many megawatts for a hybrid of solar and wind energy. And we have the potential to do that. Why do you have to stick only on conventional energy, which globally now is now a question of sustainability? We have to really open up. What I mean is the rural energy is now into partially most of these projects is related to solar. But the question is that even sometimes the sizing, the consideration of climate parameters, the location, the hour of use, you must be knowledgeable to do that. It has to be based on that. It should not be done arbitrarily. It should be based on so that it can be cost effective, so that you cannot oversize or undersize. And then it requires you to have a national strategic plan that you require based on the resources, based on needs, based on technology, even sometimes based on even capacity.
But Prof, again, some experts like you have said, perhaps sustainability shouldn't be our focus for now. It is how we must ensure that we realize some of these goals. Because, I haven't spoken with the MD of the agency. According to him, and that's Abaliu, great vision. As a country, according to him, he says we're on our way to developing a data-driven off-grid model for Nigeria that will become an exemplar for sub-Saharan Africa. He says we're on our way to promoting the use of decentralized energy solutions to power households, communities, and businesses. He says Nigeria plans to reach a full electrification rate by 2040, connecting over 500,000 households each year from 2020 to 2040. How realistic are these goals?
Well, the realist has always been ambitious and sometimes unrealistic, both on monitoring and evaluation. Now, if you have been following the trend for the past 10 years in terms of power information about Nigeria, in terms of generation and distribution, have you really found that the correlation between what we are hearing and what is actually happening in realistic basis? So it has reached a time that we have really to think outside the box. It's no longer, as I said, aggressively. It's not a question of really the type of energy you want, but to have the energy for now, because it's necessary for life. But as I said, among the energy options that are likely to be realistic and implementable, because it's not a question of conceptual strategy plan or beautiful grammar in terms of energy needs, but it's about the flexibility of scale and secret of the technologies. Now, to develop the infrastructure and also to have those relevant infrastructure being manned by well-polished professionals to ensure that there is sustainability. These parameters in terms of strategic plan, infrastructure, and the critical mass of people required to come out with the energy option for this country, which you refer to aggressively, not mind the sustainability. And if there is no sustainability in any project, then it will die. Sustainability is also important, Because if we have a sustainability program, would not have been where we are now. Would have been somewhere. There should have been a sustainability in terms of program, no matter in terms of incremental change. We know that we have passed A, we are going to B, and we are moving no matter how slow and steady we are, we reach B point. But when we take decisions haphazardly, we start with this decision and policy and implementation. Tomorrow we change it for another one. So that there is more policy which is static. It's dynamics. It's based on monitoring, evaluation, and needs with time and technologies and globalizations. These are requests for us and us to take decisions. All these things require expertise, not just people who you call. I am sorry to say, you can't give a historian work to do surgery or grammarian to go and do surgery. Give it to those people who have the skill. Give it to those people who have the know-how. Give those people who know what to do so that they will put the country in the right track. All we are saying that some of us who are in the area in science and engineering, particularly engineering, where is the implementing agency? Yeah, in terms of fundamental of science realities, in terms of creation and commercializations, that we should be given proper Nigeria, no matter as a government. We should have a plan that we should monitor, evaluate with the change of the world so that we'll be able to push what. So by now, we keep saying that if we're in 10 megawatt, by the next coming 2-3 years, we should be in 15 megawatt. But we should not be coming back and front. And we're putting huge amounts of naira with so many questionable answers to give. So it is required, as I said, for us and that we have the resources. Even the partner, no one live in isolation. Even United States, we should use the resources. We should use what we have to establish industries through collaboration with other parts of the country, but it should be in Nigeria, so that we should be able to and sustain and also develop ourselves, so that we pick up over time. So all we will not be keeping this policy today and implementation tomorrow and others. No, there is no way you can haphazardly run a government or a plan or strategic plan implementation under this situation. As I said, there are solutions to it, and everybody.
All right, Prof. So still talking about the solutions and with particular attention on solar, also because, I've heard experts say, despite the significant government's heavy investment in renewable energy, particularly solar power, adoption appears to remain slow across the country. What do you consider as the challenges hindering solar power adoption in this part of the world?
Those of us who are in the industry, we know that there is significant change in terms of energy mix based on contribution of solar in the national energy implementation plan, which not being followed based on the written plan of the government, but people who are forced to go into solar. If you look at most people now, they are not going for conventional generators. They are going for solar. I'm telling you that if you really evaluate now in my state, most of the street lights, most of mini grid, most of community-based institutions like clinics and so on, is powered by solar. Critical areas in terms of surgery and so on, so it's run by solar because it's the only energy that you can be assured of. There is no interruption, provided that your batteries are charged. You can convert your chemical energy to electrical energy, and your equipment is well wet, and or you can be sure of power.
And interestingly, Prof, I want you to respond to Aso Rock resorting to solar, which Nigerians have, criticized. Isn't that the best option for us, just as you've said?
Yes, I welcome the decision of Aso Rock. It's a line, it's a real critical thinking for those who think of that. If you really do the needful, without political interference, you invest 10 billion naira equivalent solar energy installations, which is translated in megawatt. I am sure there will be sustainable in power supply in Aso. And you will have a very quiet, hazard-free environment to live, because you don't hear any noise from anywhere, you don't have any pollution. And it's the best for city of government like Asura to have sustainable, reliable, quiet power supply. If really the business is to invest 10 billion naira solar equivalent power generation from alternative energy sources, particularly renewable and solar, I am sure for the next coming 5 years, even the maintenance cost will not be there, until and unless you do not install genuine equipment. Because this is the question we are having. Most of the equipment of solar, both from Taiwan, sometimes compromised in China, and so on and so forth, they are not sustainable enough to withstand the design or the environment where they are installed. So these are questions of realities.
All right.
And not like I can have it. It is a reality that the right people are not given the chance to do the needed. But if the right people are given this, we will have sustainable renewable energy plan. And if we implement it, all this small power generation will be taken care of.
And I've also heard experts say that for Nigeria to fully harness its solar potential, the government must intensify efforts to promote awareness, implement favorable policies, create financing schemes that encourage individuals and businesses to invest in solar energy. I wanted to get your reaction to that. Sadly, we're out of time, Prof.
I know I'm part of the team. I was a staff with the Energy Commission of Nigeria and the former coordinating director of the NASENI, which the country is the only living PV plant now operational in the country. Apart from the one we bought in Sokoto, I know that it's no longer a matter of debate, and it's a reality that this question of saying the optional mix we are talking, as I said, is not really the issue of the generation. The issue of and look at it, all this power issue will take you.
Prof, sadly, we're out of time, but I mean, it was important for us to have this conversation with you, and gladly a lot has been said, and hopefully we'll make the best use of this as a country. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I've been speaking with the Vice Chancellor, Kebbi State University of Science and Technology, is also a renewable energy expert, Professor Bagudu Gwadangaji. Thank you so much for the time and politics tonight. Thank you so much, sir, and I look forward to more conversations with you. Thank you. And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X. That's TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke.